Welcome, welcome, welcome back to the Street Shaman Podcast. I am your host, Shamanic Poe, aka Poe and the Rock Star, and today I'm here with a fellow street shaman and artiste, Vital Elements. How you doing, girl? How you been?
Good. I'm happy to be on. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Taking it day by day. I got a lot of shit that I'm juggling right now, so I took a little
Yeah,
break
what you
off
got
of
going on?
Street Shaman. Well, I got a show that I'm doing October 8th. Um, that I'm basically running the whole show. So I gotta get the security, get the DJ, which I got the DJ. Security's not completely locked in, but I got a few numbers, I got a few dudes, and I also need to get the openers for that show. Because it's a tour that's coming around town, but I got to get the openers. So it's like five different openers. Got to make sure I have a door person to take the money and tickets. It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
It's a
all the
lot of,
admin. It's a big thing. People don't realize they walk into an event. There's been a lot of movement in the background. It just doesn't show.
right. It's a lot of work. Takes a lot of little work to get that shit done. So, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Uh, Pretty much trying to keep my head above the waves. But yeah, I guess lately I've been honestly turning to the home front for a minute because I've been so busy out and about chasing down all the goodness. Uh, I had a little catch up back on this side. So just trying to come back up from that at this point and set my sights to what's next. I haven't really got anything in the queue just now because, like I said, I was trying to sort of, oh, hello, G Rose, trying to get a little bit up to speed on the other side of things. So,
Right. Right. I get you. I get you. So, you have been taking a lot of pictures in art galleries and you have made mention of doing your own little art projects and you have other art projects that people want you to be involved in. What sparked the love of art in you?
um, it just goes all the way back with me. I mean, I remember getting art supplies is one of my favorite things. And I always thought, oh, I'll be a great painter or I'll be a good illustrator. I never got really very good at that. But eventually, when I was about 5, my father put a camera in my hands. It was a little point and shoot dealy with the flash cubes, if you remember flash cubes. Uh, and you know, I would just burn through the film. And so I said, well, maybe this is something to invest in. You know, stepped up my cameras as I got older, could afford to do it. Then eventually gave me this good camera. I really found that I could I could kind of escape through the viewfinder when we had viewfinders. I guess everything now is on the screen, but it was
Right.
like a magical portal to me. Learning to see things in a frame and being able to capture the things I found and share them sort of gave it a whole nother dimension for me. And so I really fell in love with photography. And um, I haven't very seriously pursued it. I did a few courses as part of my studies in college, um, which helped me to develop some basic knowledge and skills. But it's really just been, pursuing a passion. And later on, that led out to doing some graphics on Photoshop and that kind of level. And a
Hmm.
couple of years ago, I got curious about doing some video. So I started just shooting little videos of projects I was doing. I found I really liked the editing, everything else. So it just, like everything else, I just kind of flowed into it over time. I would say most of my work is photography, graphics, and and then there's design. There's both, graphic design in terms of, traditional Photoshop type of work. I've always had an interest in advertising, packaging design, but I'm interested in anything that's design. It could be landscape design, interior design, architecture, engineering, anything where you take a concept and bring it out to the world just fires me up. It's it's like being able to birth ideas into being is so powerful to me. So
Right,
just
right. Yeah.
pursuing
I'm the
that.
same. I'm the same way when it comes to that type of stuff. Like I've loved architecture. I used to go into New York City and just walk. I would walk into the side blocks and just walk around for hours, just staring at buildings. Just, damn, that looks crazy. How did they do that? That's crazy. Look at that right there. Like, not even just the big skyscrapers, just like little, you know how they have like some condos and some like loft buildings that are there that you can see. You can kind of look inside. I'm like, I'm not trying to be a peeping Tom. I'm just looking at your
Just trying to
architecture and
scope
the
your
design.
architectural details.
Right, right, right. I've always been into shit like that. Yeah. And I really don't know why. It's not really anybody in my family that's into shit like that. But I would just walk for hours. I would just go to New York by myself and just walk around for hours and look at stuff.
Yeah,
It's
I was gonna
crazy.
say, growing up around here, there's just so much from, I mean, we don't have much history as a nation in total. You know, you're lucky you find something that's 300 years old here. So
Right,
in relative terms, it's not a lot of history. But in terms of, you know, North America, this is this is where you can go back and see some of the earliest true colonial buildings and everything
right,
that's come along since. So, uh, and then because of the influence and the wealth of New York City over time, you see some of the, you know, some superlative stuff. It's what the best money could, you know, organize basically.
right,
And before OSHA, a lot could get done a lot faster. Somebody said that
right,
if they tried to build the Empire State Building today, it would be like a 25-year project because of all the safety concerns, where it was like it was a quick job back in the day because they would just throw human suffering at it.
right, 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 right. Yeah. There's so much stuff out there. Like I like when they do the little fucking cubicle structures on top of a roof. Like they'll just take a house and they'll put it on top of a roof of a building. It's like it's crazy. It's like how are you gonna put
Yeah,
a little fucking house on top of that building? Like those type of things blew my fucking mind. But yeah,
it's really cool
so
to see them bringing it in with the cranes too, and they're doing those kinds of drops on tops of buildings. It's
right,
insanely dangerous. Any crane work is like really dangerous, but
right,
it's amazing to witness, even if it's just housing for utilities or whatever, you know, just that kind of movement to bring it in. I'm impressed at what we as humans can do. I think we get a
yeah,
little carried away sometimes and forget where we come from, but you know, I do appreciate and marvel at
right,
our technological abilities.
right, right. We can do a lot of shit. We can definitely do a lot of shit. I think
Got neighbors going by here.
I would never go on top of those cranes, like in those cranes or anything. I would never be up that high unless I know I'm safe as fuck. I would not do that shit. But as far as the people that can, like, hats off to them. You know what I mean? Kudos to them. I
Yeah.
cannot. I would never be up there like on the 80th floor. People that clean the windows and shit like that. Like, I would never do some shit like that. But
I'm sort of a mix. If I get conditioned to being at height and I know I'm secure, I'm fine. But then other times I could be up not that high and not so sure, and I feel the fear that I understand why people are like hell with heights. No.
right. No, I'm afraid for other people. If I watch somebody do the job, because I have when I worked in Cleveland and I watched a dude go off the top to do the windows. I was scared for him. I didn't even want to watch him. And he was secure. He had a harness. He had all the, and I didn't want to even go. I didn't. I had to walk away. I was like, I can't see that shit. Like if my girl's on the balcony and she's doing something right here, and we're on the second floor. She's doing some shit right here. I'm like, yeah, get away from there. Get away. Get away. Stop it. I'm walking away. I don't know. I'm not looking. Like that's how scared I get. I get scared for other people. Yeah, I'm
Well,
fucking
second
deadly
story, she
afraid.
should be all right. Most people land all right. second story. I
Yeah,
had
I
a
don't know.
I had to break into my second story apartment in Vegas because I managed to lock my keys inside. That was going up was a little scary. I had a couple of neighbors. They go out every night walking around. A couple of guys just feel like walking the loop, and we knew each other because I go out walking. Um, and they saw me there trying to figure out what to do. We ended up, one guy hoisted the other, and then the other guy lifted me up so I could grab the railing of my balcony. And it was about halfway over where I saw my light flash for a second.
Fuck that. Yeah, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't. So I saw on one of your reels or stories that you put up on Instagram that you were actually camera shy.
Even now, I'm trying not to make crazy faces. I'm trying to breathe normally. It's real
Right,
bad.
right. And that resonated with me because I am definitely camera shy. Like there is music I can make. If I get on the fucking stage, I can fucking do it. I might be a little anxious in the beginning. Once I get on the stage, I can rock out. But as far as like getting in front of a camera and speaking, that was one of the scariest things for me.
That's funny. You and I are compliments in that way because I have a lot of trouble performing. Like I love the performing arts. I love playing music. I love dancing. I did some I did some acting classes to try my hand at it, and I enjoyed it all. But when I'm performing, it's I know what you mean. Once you're there and you're playing, and you're in the movement, it is a little better. But like getting over that first hump was a lot harder for me. Um, and what I
Yeah,
found through doing some like just playing around, I found that talking kind of calmed me down once I get into the idea and I'm just exploring a concept and or conversing with someone. It takes me sort of out of thinking about the lens being pointed at me like a beam of doom. Um,
right.
something about I just get lost in the conversation. I get lost in the ideas a little more easily. And I don't know why coming into that. I guess because I'm not afraid I'm gonna like mess up the song for everybody, or I'm gonna trip and go flying in front of everybody the same as it would be for other kinds of performance. It could be, I don't know. I assume I'm gonna say something stupid. I'm like, let's assume you're gonna say something stupid and just get on with it.
Right.
I'm
Right.
much more relaxed for conversation.
Right. No,
So
like I
I got it
I
covered
always
between us.
when it
Sorry.
comes no, you're fine. When it comes to like speaking in front of a camera, I just feel like I think my fear comes from just thinking that I'm going to say something completely dumb. And in this podcast itself, I made it a little mission of mine to just say crazy shit that I actually felt, but just say them and fuck it. You know what I mean? Just say it because it was going to help. I guess in my mind, I felt like it's going to help my fear of being able to speak. Like if I make mistakes deliberately, then and nothing happens, everything's okay, my life's okay, I'm still good, right? So then I can move forward, doing whatever I need to do. And if I make mistakes haphazardly, then whatever, So in the beginning of doing these podcasts, I did my best to try to like, fuck it, I'm gonna say this crazy shit. I know a lot of people are not gonna agree with me. I just gotta say it so that way, it gets off of me, it gets that feeling a little bit taken away. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, yeah.
where do you think that anxiousness in front of a camera really comes from for you?
It's funny. I did a little. You say like you do it, nothing bad happens, and it falls away. And so I said, why don't I do, for a number of reasons, I tried out some video journal. And it 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 was even then I was occasionally becoming aware. Like, nobody's here. This is for you. This is personal. What do you care if you're you're, creating some sort of visual audio record of this moment?
Right,
And
right,
so I got into it myself. I'm like, I don't know, but I went back and I realized when I was really young, there were certain people didn't really appreciate me having limelight. And I would
Right.
get nipped if somebody tried to put the spotlight on me. And
Right.
so I didn't really care. I felt like I had so much to focus on. Like I'll always tell you, my eyes point out. I don't need a lot coming in at me since I'm so engaged with what's around me. And and it wasn't, it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't pleasant if somebody would put attention on me and then I would get kind of nipped for it, basically. I was like, okay, you can have my share. Um,
Right.
and so I just got used to kind of giving my share of the limelight to other people. And I guess it maybe it just didn't feel safe to be seen that way. And I
Right.
was like, you go out in the world shamelessly. I'll go up to total strangers and strike up conversation. No problem. Um, I've even been able to like do public speaking without breaking into horrible sweats. And I've got a lot of cases where I'm comfortable being seen, but I guess because it's focused. If somebody's paying me a compliment, if I'm the performance, if you know, it's just that level of focused attention. It
Right.
starts to shift for me. So
Right. Right. No,
I
I
don't know. Do you have
definitely
any theories? Do you
I
have any
no,
idea why you would have that?
I think it has to do with that. I really do think it has to do with that. Because I've always been into music since I was a little kid, like Michael Jackson, Prince. I was dancing around and stuff like that. So people would watch me, like family members and my mom's friends would watch me. And I know for sure that like sometimes when the spotlight was put on me, or they'll be like, "Hey, Lionel, do this thing," my mom will be in the background looking at me like, "You better not.
Mm, mm.
You better
You think
not."
you're
Like,
special?
right, get out of here. Who you think you are? Like, she was looking at me like that. So I was taking it as like, oh no, what do I do here? Because I want to perform, but at the same time, I feel like I'm gonna get shit for it. Even though she
It's
would
funny
never
how
mention
those
it,
messages
she
go
would
deep early on.
she would never mention it, or she would never say crazy things to me afterwards. But in that moment, it was like, you're taking my spotlight. She would just give me a look, and I would be like, so it took a while to really break out of the shell. And it took like me making mistakes deliberately, doing shit, being crazy on the camera. So that way I can feel a little bit comfortable doing this shit.
Yeah,
Because
it's like you gotta
perform
go in and override the message you got with like,
right,
no, actually nothing bad happens. Because it's almost
right,
like there's almost like an ambient threat when you get that look or somebody gets in. It's like, what you think you're doing? And it
right,
just becomes the program you run. You gotta go in and
right,
debug it, put new programming over it to
right,
say like, look,
right.
nothing happens. I look silly. I say something stupid. I do that in real life all the time, and I'm still here.
Right, right.
So,
And also like when you say something silly and you're around other people that are reasonable people, they will look at you and be like, "Oh no, no, I know what you meant." Like if you know how you say a word but you meant another word or whatever the hell you mean, you're like, "Oh, I
mm,
said this word," and then people go, "No, no, no, I know what you meant." I didn't get that. It was like one of those things. If you said something that was wrong, it's like, look, you said something wrong. Everybody laugh at him, stupid. And they'll keep
yeah,
going.
that-
They'll keep it going to the point where you're
yeah.
like shrinking
You're
into yourself,
birding.
like,
You want to
fuck.
shrink.
Right, right, right. So it was like it takes a lot to try to break that, especially if it's programmed into you as a child.
Yeah.
If you programmed it as a child to shut up, just just be another person here. Don't try to take my limelight. Don't try to take the spotlight. Don't say nothing wrong. If you say something wrong, I will badger you about it. I'll make jokes for weeks on end about the fact you made that one mistake back then.
Oh yeah, no
That
living it
take
down.
it takes a toll. It
People
takes a
like that have
toll.
real good memories.
Right, about
Be
bullshit.
like, remember when you were 7 and you did? Oh my goodness. No, my life went on.
Right, right. And I was 7, and now I grew up, and I did a lot of other things, and I'm a different person now. Like, Why are you still holding on to that one mistake that I did back then? Yeah,
Maybe it's all some people got.
that part. That part right there. So you go to a lot of art galleries, right? You've been to a
A
few,
few.
at least. Been to a few.
Yeah. It's a
What's
more
make
recent thing I've been surfacing and getting out, but I hope to make it a regular thing.
what makes you want to go to these art galleries? Cause are you from New York? Cause I see you're in art galleries in New York. Are
Yeah.
you from New York? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Nyack. I'm living in northern Jersey right now, but yeah, I'm born and raised between, you know, the city and, you know, the countryside there. So I I
Okay.
had the privilege of being able to get out and enjoy both sides of what the region has to offer. And yeah, I I guess what got me going was, and I'd forgotten this until Eugene Rose brought it up, but I'd spent a lot of time on Pinterest going back 8, 10 years. I started making it a point to go out and find some beauty, gather it up, and put my focus on good things. And I found a lot of artists I liked out there. I was sort of overwhelmed by how much beautiful art's being created real time. And when I'd gotten over to Instagram, it occurred to me to look up some of the people. And I didn't really form any connections with the artists I'd had over on those boards, but it sent me on a journey which took me out to street art, which I've always had affection for, but maybe didn't give as much attention to as I always would have liked to. And I said,
Right.
well, you're here, learn what's going on, what the scene's about, who the people are. And I just kept finding things I loved so much in street art on the Instagram side of it, and I started sharing it. And through that, I started making connections with the artists themselves. And um, and I said, you know, this is part of my mission to get back into the world, connect to what I love, you know, be a person, show up. And
Right.
so when I saw um, Chris RWK, Robots Will Kill, um, was having a show, I said, there you go, get down there, check that out. And uh, you know, I've been down for that one solo show that was just it was for both solo shows actually. Um, one was at a gallery and the other was at Inked. The tattoo magazine has a parlor there.
Right.
They use some of their space for gallery showing, and that was really cool to get into another venue like that. And I also connected with a a local street artist, Vinny Rafa, who was actually kind of like the godfather of East Coast skating back in the day, and then that kind of transitioned into being more focused on street arts. He's an interesting character. You should look him up if you get a minute. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I was able to connect with him, and he just started a small gallery locally. So I was able to get down and check out what he had going on. He and I know a lot of the same people through Instagram, so it's nice to feel like part of a larger community of people working. And then um, Dave too had done a collaboration with him. This was selling some of his pieces at Vinny's Gallery, and we connected through that. And he's asked me to do these boards that I'm still terrified to put my paint pens to these beautiful boards he sent me to add my characters because, like I said, it's the lesser side of my skill. Now I've got a finished product. I got to put something on without ruining it. So
Well, why do you feel that is your lesser side of your skill? Are you absolutely sure, or is it something that you just insecure about?
objectively, I can't I I don't have the skills a lot of other artists have when they work in paint and pen and pencil. Um, I never I never got really I never had a good education in it, and I never really got very good at it myself. I just really enjoy sometimes getting into doodle. It's like art therapy for me. I'll do
Right.
things on just like an art therapy level, and I really enjoy that. But I just never really developed it very far out. And most of what I've done has been graphite and ink. So going over to paint, it's a different discipline. And
Right.
now I'm like I can use paint pens, which helps a lot because I'm
Right.
a lost cause with brushes. But yeah, then now I'm going out into another medium that I'm not familiar with. So it's legit. It's legit. You ask me to design some stuff or put together a video, I'll be like, oh, good enough. Also because I'm not
Right.
working on top of somebody else's stuff. I think that's part of
Okay. Okay. So that makes sense, but I can see that from like even the things that you do as far as like promoting some of my songs and you just share, you share it to your stories or whatever. You have an act. You have the vision for things to look good. So I wouldn't put it past the fact that you can get that done, whether it's paint, whether it's. But I think that you're holding yourself back a little bit here, and you should be just trying to separate a little bit of time to focus on that. You don't have to do it on the actual canvases or the paintings that they gave you to do it on. You can do it on other things and just keep going at it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It's only going to
it.
take a
Yeah,
little bit of
that's what I've been
practice.
doing. I've definitely pulled some like, some cardboard out that has a little texture to it and been trying to work on that so I get a feel for it. And it's coming along. Um, each time I sit, I kind of get another feel for what the characters are and how to move the paint around that it doesn't come out crazy. But
Right,
yeah, it's like I'm kind of learning by the seat of my pants, which is nothing new. Most things I, you know, shoot first, ask questions later. Um,
right, right,
but
right.
yeah,
No,
I
because
got to give it
I,
a little more effort, I think, and then hopefully
right,
I'll be able to come out with something that's, on par with some of my other work because I do feel a lot more confident. You're like, put something together with graphics. So I'm like, I'll figure something out. I'll have fun and make a thing happen. Um, but I also have technology on my side. I don't have a real
right,
steady hand. And so with the technology, the pixels are going to go where the pixels are going to go, but the dot may
right.
not go where the dot was supposed to. So
I
that's
understand
a bit
that.
of it
I
too.
understand that. I understand that. But it doesn't need to be perfect. Art is not perfect. Art's not meant to be perfect. Like
Yeah.
even today, I just before this podcast, I was gonna post my new song. It's just a snippet of the new song that's coming out next Friday. And sometimes it takes me a while. Like today it took me at least like 10 minutes to just press post. Just to press post. It's
Just to get it
there, it's
played.
done. I did everything. It's done. It's a done song. I know I like it. I fucking like it. I know it's good, but now I'm listening to it and looking at it and second guessing it and saying, oh, should I have done this? Should I have done before I press send? And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Just press send. Just
Yeah,
fucking
no, I
post the
triple
shit.
check everything too.
It's just a
I think that's
perfectionist,
part
like
of,
complex.
yeah, I think that's part of the same thing. I think if you had the experience of, kind of being told to stay in your place and keep it simple, stupid, like,
Mm,
I think you get a little more perfectionistic, you know.
right,
I'm definitely not
right,
a perfectionist, but I have those moments of perfectionism where I'm like, I can't wait.
right,
And so
right,
I
right,
think it's got some of the same roots.
right. Yeah, it's like for most of my life, some things is like, oh, that's good enough, whatever. But then when it comes to like my art, music, it's like, is it good enough? Should I show anybody? I don't know. I don't know. And it's just, I think it's all a mind game from the shit that we've been programmed as kids.
Yeah, because it's good. You get it out there, people connect with it, grooving on it, they love
Right,
it. But like that's not the thing that's happening when you're holding back. It's some other track is running at that point where you're like,
right,
yeah, but people are paying attention and I gotta and there's
right,
something to be
right.
said. Hmm?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I think that's what it is. It's a lot of like trauma. Not big trauma, little itty bitty trauma here and there that just is holding you back, holds me back from time to time. And I gotta just be like, fuck this shit, do it, just do it, shut up and do it.
Yeah,
So,
that's when a little tough love is called for.
right, right. That's what I do to myself. Shut up, you're gonna be all right. What's your problem? That's what I tell myself. You're gonna be all right. You're good. You're good. Just do it. Just fucking do it. Right. So,
Yeah.
how let's shift gears a little bit. How did you discover Tentacle Croissant? Or did you discover Richard first? Or did you discover Pierre first? How did that work for you?
I come in through Richard Granite's work from late 2017. I guess I happened upon it, and by, early 2018, I was kind of convinced that the work had serious merit. And so I stayed on board and kept working it. And then through that, yeah, I discovered that Richard and Pierre had gotten together to do the wonderful grab bag style podcast they do.
Right, right,
I'm hooked.
right. So what was the reason for you searching for something that Richard Granting is providing? Like what made you get into that without,
Yeah, well, the
saying any
search term at
names?
the moment was family dynamics and dysfunctional family and, you know, personality disorder. I don't remember which one I put in, but
Right,
that was sort of the list of search terms from my own personal experience because there were definitely a lot of issues with family. Um, and as I got into the work, I realized I could have just been searching PTSD and childhood trauma and any number of other topics since it really all relates. At that juncture, it was family issues, though, extended family
right,
conflict and other things that were just rather mystifying and challenging. And yeah, when I happened upon, somebody actually saying your family doesn't like you, they don't want what's best for you, after I'd been kind of screaming that at death heaven for a long time. People be like,
right,
"Oh, it's your family. They love you. They want what's best for you. What do you got against family?"
right,
I'm like, I got nothing against family, but let's remember Hitler, Dahmer, who they had family. They were family to somebody. Where do we draw the line around you're my relative,
right,
but if you don't act like family, there's no amount of blood or legal contracts that make it that you're my family. You know,
right,
to me,
right,
family is what family does. And so
right,
it was very frustrating to go and seek help from professionals and have them be like, but that's your family. But that's, like that doesn't justify inappropriate and abusive behavior. And
right,
so I was pretty excited to find somebody saying, like, yeah, no, they don't care. I was like, okay, I'm listening to this guy.
right, right. No, it's the same for me. Because a lot of people do make that they always go to that. Well, that's your family. Come on, that's your family. And like I had to cut off my family like completely because they would all come back to me. Like I didn't talk to my mom for years, and I'll have cousins that never talked to me, uncles that never reached out to me. Like, hey, when the last time you talked to your mom? Why are you asking me this if I don't even talk to you? And not even for a good or a bad reason, just that if you have a big family, some people you just never talk to,
Mhm.
right? And then they're just hitting you up like, oh, when's the last time you talked to your mom? It's like, all right, I guess I gotta block you. I guess I gotta change my number. I guess I gotta, I had to do a lot of that for a little while to make sure that I was okay. Cause
Yeah.
I was a point when I found Richard Grant, and that was clearly on my own, but I was at a point in my life where I was near suicide. So I was near, oh, I'm gonna kill myself, fuck this shit, whatever. And then I took some psychedelics I came back from a psychedelic trip with all these different ideas and different understandings of what I was going through, just out of osmosis, really. And then I went and looked for these things, and I found Richard Grannon. That's exactly how I found him. And I just spent like a fucking 5 days to a week just watching videos, catching up to whatever he was saying, and like getting my shit together while I was still in a pleasant place because of the psychedelic trip.
Mm,
But before that, I was literally like, all right, I guess I'll hang it up. And I know myself, like I didn't tell anybody about this shit. I would have just did it, and that'd have been that. It wasn't like I was running around like I'm gonna kill myself. I was just like,
yeah.
guess I'll just hang this up. And it
Yeah.
had to do with a lot of the shit that was going on with my family and how they were treating me. Like, even in moments of, I got big opportunities. I had big opportunities at the time. I'm on Warp Tour, a touring festival. I'm going to do 12 dates. And I go back to tell them, yeah, I got this opportunity. You're not going to do that shit.
They just lick their eyeball and it shrug.
Right. Like, look at this guy. He's crazy. He's talking about doing this shit. And I was like, no, seriously, I'm going to do this shit, blah, blah. And really, like, I wanted to be able to put my family on my back. That's really like the love in my heart was like, I want to do this shit. I want to get my family in. I want to, make sure that they're good and everything. But meanwhile, my family's like, get out of here. Or hating that, oh, you got that shit? Well, you think you're a
Yeah.
big shot now? And it's like, no, I'm trying to do good
Trying to build something for
so
you guys that I have no
everybody
clue.
is good.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what does that mean? Get out of here.
Well, it's like a liar won't believe anyone else. I think when people are really like self-serving, it's hard to believe that somebody else would do something for the collective. It's like, yeah,
Yep.
but what's the angle? Would you really do? Like I definitely certain corners of my family life encountered people who just were always looking for what my angle was. I'm like, I have no angle. I come in straight. This is my angle. What you see is what you get. I'll tell you. We got a problem. I'll let you know. I'm happy with something. I'll show my appreciation and my joy. You know, it's not a lot of mystery, but when people are always used to like having that sort of, here's what we put in the shop window and here's what we really got on the shelves kind of approach to life, like it doesn't, it's almost like they can't comprehend that you're for real, that you're really like, yeah, because I love my people and I love sharing. Everything's better when you've got people to share in it. It just
Right.
multiplies the good. And
Right.
yeah, there was no match for that with a lot of people in my family. They were like, yeah, but really, really.
Right. Yeah. That my mom used to tell me all the time. Oh, so you're gonna get big and leave mommy, right? You're just gonna get big and get rich and just leave your mom. That's what you want
Mm,
to do.
mm,
And that's not what I wanted to do. At the end of
right.
it, that's what I did without being rich. I just said, all right, I guess I'm just gonna leave because you are weighing me down like a fucking cement brick in the river. You are weighing me the fuck down. You're making sure that I'm not doing what I need to do. There you go, some lighting. You're making sure
Sorry, I
that
just realized it's
I'm.
getting real dark in here.
It's getting dark. It's getting dark over there. Yeah. Um, Making sure that I'm not doing what I need to do, just so that way I can stay with you and I can stay
Hmm.
around doing what I feel miserable just working a job without having any goals in mind. I've always had
Hmm.
goals since I was a little kid. So my brain is goal oriented. If I don't have any goals, if I'm just flowing in the wind, working a job, have nowhere, have nothing to do, have no future goals, I'm going to fucking be miserable.
Yeah.
That's
I
always
I
me.
mean, if you're on a certain Zen path, maybe, but for everybody else, I don't think it's healthy to be without that something that draws you out. And, you don't want to
Right.
get out of bed, but you're like, oh, but I got this thing. Let me move toward it. Like I
Right.
said, it's you know, what are you? Where's your focus? And if your focus is on drudgery that drains you, what do you think your mindset, your overall state is going to be? What do you think you're going to actually, how that translates to experience, I guess? And it's it, it's like a living death. I don't know why people would say, oh, just stick with that, just do the thing. Like, to what end?
Right.
What just come and consume resources and die. That's not
Right.
that doesn't sound very
Right.
worthwhile.
Right.
A lot of effort went into you getting what is basically the golden ticket. The odds of all your ancestors being able to survive and reproduce in all kinds of conditions for millennia, and to be able to then be this one unique entity with this brief right now, and you get one guaranteed pass through this, and
Right.
it's amazing to me that people take that so like they're fixated on crazy things that don't really matter. What styles are in, what scandals popping, what's happening in politics, which I guess matters since it shapes our world, but most of the stuff we focus on doesn't really have an impact. And
Right.
meanwhile, this question of what are you going to do with your golden ticket? It's like, I don't know. I put it on the pile of mail over there. Why?
Right.
Seems
No,
the big
yeah.
question to me.
And a lot of people, a lot of people are goal oriented, but because I think from my experience, I feel like because they haven't really had the opportunity or been able to dream of the opportunity because of the situations that happen in their life and because of people like them, they just think of, oh, the goal is I'm gonna get a nice car. The goal is I'm gonna get this big house over here so that way people could look at me and say he's successful. And that's never been my thing. It's never been about, ooh, get the big house, get the nice car, so that way I can show you that I'm successful because I have material gain. I can care less what you think of me as far as do I have this much money or do I have that much money.
Yeah,
The goals were more intrinsic. It was more, do I feel fulfilled? Is everybody eating good? Is everybody living a good life? It doesn't have to be materialistic.
yeah.
But if it's not
And it,
materialistic, a lot of people think it's bullshit. Oh, it's not, you're not gonna get all this money that you can hold to your ear like it's a phone. Then it's not materialistic, then it's not worth it. And it is worth it.
yeah,
Now, today, I wake up every day. I don't wake up like, oh, fucking, I wake up every day like, up, good. Life is good. And
it's
I'm
good.
not, I'm not rich by any means. I'm middle class, but life is good.
Yeah.
Everything's all right. I'm
You
doing
also have to
okay.
define what
Bills are
rich
paid.
means. Like how we define
Right,
wealth. We always talk in economic terms or material possessions. And yeah, it's good to have the resources. Let's not
right,
pretend there's like,
right,
we can't just go around begging alms and be okay in the month. Um, you definitely need to be able to provide for yourself or have access to resources in some capacity. Um, but
right,
like, then, is that really wealth? You get to a point where you don't have to worry about where you're sleeping. You know you got food, you know you got clothes, medical care, all your basic needs are met. You look around, you have people. That's like that was something that was missing for me, the way my life worked out. I ended up tremendously isolated. Like I could go a month and not see an adult who didn't come and go from the house, which was like two adults. Um, and I didn't really have people I could call. I didn't have people online. I was I was so cut off that for me, just having connections with people is tremendous wealth. I feel like I've won the lottery coming back out to the world, being able to connect with people, and to find so many really wonderful, um, just creative, generous, like community oriented people who then
Right.
welcome me in. And, I'm like, oh, I don't know what else I need. I'm just happy to be at the party, frankly.
Right.
And then, you know, I don't like coming to the party empty handed. So I'm trying to create something and contribute my share. Um,
Right.
but that's really almost the way it worked for me was about the wealth of humanity versus the wealth of material provisions was what I was seeking. And I think you were talking, and I was thinking about it, like, oh, I don't care if you see my big house or what kind of car I drive. Like maybe that's the gift of being shoved out of the limelight. Is you say, then what do I care about? You're forced to develop a different interior value system. And
Right.
then you'd say, then you might have the opportunity to realize that, yeah, it's not about those things. It's not about people looking at me and thinking I'm badass or, you know, I'm I'm
Right.
I'm somehow up a hierarchy. To what end? You know, what do you do with that? Because if you study even animals, and we talk about what an alpha is in animal terms, it's one who protects and provides for the other members of the species. And so, we've sort of conflated material wealth with the ability to do that with the virtue and the actual practice of doing that. What happens if
Right.
people are like sitting on their pot of money, being like, look at me, I'm a big deal. You're not a big deal until you spread the wealth and you do some good in this world. When you build a
Right.
community, when you provide for others, when you protect that, when you figure out how to expand that, then most people can get on board and do the same for themselves. The whole world is a rich and pleasant place to live. You're still part of the
Yeah.
fucking problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it kind of it brings me to my other and last question here, last little subject. Um, you've been going to different places, right? You say you from Nyack, New York, right?
Mhm.
So you've been to New York City, and I've heard because I haven't really been out of this general area in about a few years now. So I haven't been to no bigger cities, but I'm hearing the homelessness is getting out of hand.
Yeah,
I saw a video in about Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia, and there was literally like 100 homeless people doing heroin right on the street. There's a video if anybody wants to look for it. Look Kensington Avenue street walk on YouTube. You'll find hundreds, at least 100, maybe 200 people in the street just doing heroin on this road. Have you seen anything like that?
I haven't seen it at that scale in Manhattan. I know that even several years back, many years ago, when was that, about 6, 7 years ago, I was walking around in Philly and I was really struck by the number of homeless people who come up and be like, "You got money, you got smokes, like you got diapers." They would see me with the carriage and be asking me for diapers, like all this stuff. And I was like, wow, it seems like the the homelessness here is like way worse than in New York. And somebody's like, yeah, where do you think, Giuliani and that posse, they sent all the homeless? They pushed them out. A lot of them apparently moved down to Philly. But now I go to the city and it's like back to the old days. I see the level of homelessness I was accustomed to seeing as a child. Back in the
Right,
80s, like it was just everywhere. And, you know,
right,
into the 90s. And when Times Square was still a magical fetish place full of
right.
fragrance and character, not Disney stores. And they have a Croc superstore at Times Square. Something in my soul can't process that. Um, but yeah, it's gotten to where it really reminds me of the levels you would see before they did that sweep humans under the rug trick. And it's insane because as it is with most scarcity, it's not that there aren't places to put people. There, there's certainly, I'm surrounded by empty houses right now. I can go empty, empty, empty. Like obviously we've got spaces for people, Um,
Right.
it, the issue is we don't have the systems to connect people with resources. And one thing that makes me crazy is that I, this feels like it's intentional because there's so many simple things we can do to improve this this
Right.
crisis. You know, maybe not fully resolve it, but ameliorate any number of the issues that we see now, which will only be more um, pronounced and prevalent, and it will reach out where people are going to feel it more if we continue on this trend. But there's simple things like setting up what could be another kind of an address for people who don't have a residence and say this is
Right.
fine, we'll give you a special address that's portable, but it functions as a residential address. So you can
Mm.
apply for a job, you can get your, fill out forms for ID, you can have a bank account. You can do these things you cannot do if you don't have a residential address.
Right.
And, you could basically just go with your code to any post office and be able to collect your stuff there through the system. You would just say, send it to this post office. I go in with my code and I can get my mail. But more importantly, I can fill out a job application or have a bank account or get my ID replaced. For how many times have I had my ID replaced getting it stolen at the shelter, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like these things that keep happening, that keep people in the on the hamster wheel of it.
Yeah.
We don't do the simple things that could resolve that. We don't do things. I see people doing tiny house projects. There was a project in LA, um, and they came and confiscated the tiny houses they donated to the community there. Like, oh,
Yeah.
we don't know.
See.
This isn't a vehicle. It's not a residence. We can't allow this, and and took them into the impact. Like took
Right.
people out of reasonable shelter. I don't know.
Right.
And it's going to
Yeah.
be everybody's problem soon. It is everybody's problem. None of us are
It is
right.
everybody's problem.
Not all of us are right. How do we have our fellow man sleeping on the freezing street that we're okay? How is
Right.
that equality?
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I feel this. I hear you there. I feel like if I had the means to do it, I would definitely make small communities of tiny homes for people. Like I'm big into, like I said, I was big into architecture in the beginning of this chat. I'm definitely big into tiny homes. Tiny homes is a big deal for me. Like that's one of those things that people don't really know about me, but I'm huge on tiny homes. I want a tiny home for myself. I feel like we can make tiny home communities. We don't need that much shit. And, we can definitely help out the homeless with tiny homes to at least give them some type of shelter instead of leaving them on curbs in tents or leaving them on the sidewalk to just sleep in a fucking cardboard box. And
And to
I
have their
it's
fellow man walk by and turn a blind eye so that the people who can't help don't go crazy. But then the people who are there are being ever more dehumanized by that experience. And our whole
right,
society is like, it's just rending the fabric. And
right,
it's so tragic. And it doesn't even have to be a house. Right now, I've got a project I started last year, and that was supposed to be what I was doing this summer, but life took a different turn. Um, to convert a tiny cargo trailer into a habitable space. I have a
right.
what is it? It's a 6 by 10, and
Hmm.
it has a little Vino, so it's just over 60 square feet inside. And you know, I've got a design on hold right now that you could have a little wet bath, a fridge, a little area for like kitchen setup that could be multi-purpose, and like a futon and some storage. You could live very comfortable. I've actually been living on it as like my off-grid field lab since last spring, testing out how it behaves in the different weather, what the issues are, what the possibilities are. And I haven't progressed it because again, I've had my focus elsewhere. But I'm really just if I could just get in there and build it, I could have a product to show you that these tiny little trailers could create really good habitable space for people who could mobilize. Because that's another thing people may not be aware of is a certain part of the homeless population is really like car homeless. And so they can migrate and work,
Right.
seasonal jobs mostly. Um, but maybe having something that's this compact that you could get an old minivan would have enough power to tow it, because anything with the double axle, you start to need a proper truck. That's money, it's gas, and it's insurance. So I'm always trying to think, how do you
Right.
get the tow vehicle down too? Um, but yeah, you could take a standard minivan, get an old Honda Odyssey with 180,000 miles on it for cheap and hitch it up. You could travel and live much more comfortably doing that until you could really save up and establish yourself more permanently somewhere if you chose to.
Right. Right.
So
No, right.
it,
But
there's
it
so many
seems
ways
like
to it.
there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of solutions. I don't think that big business or government cares. They want to spend money on making sure wars are good. They want to make sure that their ties are good in other countries, but they're not making sure that we're good, you know? It's it's a whole different mind frame that you have to put yourself in if you're walking by a few streets of homeless people and then just not pay attention to them like they're not people.
I can't do that. I can't. I'm like, people get so mad at me. I'm stopping and handing out cigarettes and whatever, like, cash I have on me. I'm like, I can't walk past people like that.
Right.
Not for their
Yeah.
soul, not for mine. Like,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
We need some more, like, I don't know. We need something like Ubuntu, that like none of us are right, and all of us aren't right. None of us have, you know, all of
Yeah.
us don't have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's fucked up. It's mind boggling for sure. Hey, Vital Elements, thank you for coming by. Thank everybody in the chat that came through. Thank everybody that's going to come through later in the comments. Make sure you like it. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. Donate if you got a couple dollars to donate. The link is in the description. Thank everybody for coming through. This is the Street Sound Podcast. I'm Shamanic Poe, aka Poe the Rockstar. I'm here with Vital Elements, and we out of here.
Thank you.
Motherfucker!